Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you were there? Or stood in front of your open fridge, staring blankly, wondering what you needed? If you're over 60, chances are, you've had moments like that. You tell yourself it's normal, part of aging. But deep down, there's a whisper of worry. What if this is the beginning of something worse? That was me. I'm Henry, 72 years old. I used to pride myself on being sharp. Crossword puzzles, book club debates, managing the family budget, my mind was always my strength. But about a year ago, something started changing. I'd lose track of conversations mid-sentence. I'd forget names of old friends. And the worst part? I began to doubt myself. A quiet fear crept in. Is this how it starts? Is this the first step to losing myself? I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my wife, not my children. I laughed it off, made jokes about senior moments. But inside, I was terrified. I'd seen what dementia had done to my father. How it slowly chipped away at him, day by day, until the man I knew was barely there. I couldn't let that happen to me. Not without a fight. So I started searching. Not for miracle pills or expensive supplements. I wanted something simple, real, something that made sense. That's when I stumbled upon a small study from a European longevity research center. The title caught my eye. Neural activation through morning movement. Cognitive benefits in older adults. It was a mouthful. But the results? Stunning. Participants, aged 65 to 80, who practiced just 3 minutes of coordinated movement, each morning showed improved memory recall, focus, and even mood, after just 30 days. 3 minutes? I could do that. The trick wasn't fancy. No equipment. No yoga mat. Just a simple sequence that combined light physical movement with mental engagement. Almost like a gentle dance that wakes up the brain. It was called neuroflow priming. You start by lifting your knees slowly while saying the alphabet. Then tapping your opposite shoulder with each step. And finally, looking side to side while reciting 3 things you're grateful for. At first, I felt silly. Standing in the living room, knees bouncing, mumbling letters to myself like a first grader. But something happened by the end of the first week. I remembered the name of the neighbor's dog without hesitation. I finished my morning newspaper crossword without needing help. My wife noticed too. "You've been sharper lately," she said one evening. "You're not asking me where your glasses are every 5 minutes." That made me smile. Because she was right. I started looking deeper into this practice. Turns out, it's rooted in science. Dr. Laura Peterson, a neurologist in Copenhagen, calls it cross-lateral brain stimulation. It's based on how our brain hemispheres communicate. When you move one side of your body in sync with the other, especially in a pattern, you're strengthening the connections between the left and right brain. Think of it like rewiring your internal internet, clearing up the lag, boosting the signal. And for seniors, that's everything. There's a growing field of research around this. In a 2022 study published in the Journal of Geriatric Cognitive Health, seniors who practiced cross-lateral movements combined with gratitude reflection for just 3 minutes daily showed a 15% improvement in short-term memory and a 21% increase in focus. These weren't Olympic athletes or memory champions. They were people like me, retirees, grandparents, people who just wanted to stay themselves a little longer. So I made it a habit. Every morning, right after brushing my teeth, I did my 3-minute routine. It became part of my day, like my morning coffee. And within a month, I didn't just feel sharper, I felt lighter. More present. I remembered birthdays without a calendar reminder. I started calling old friends just to say hello. And for the first time in years, I sat down and finished writing the memoir I had started and abandoned 5 years ago. One morning, my grandson Leo came over. He's 9. Curious, smart, a little whirlwind of energy. He caught me mid-routine and stared, giggling. "Grandpa, what are you doing?" he asked. I told him it was my super brain dance. He joined in. We laughed so hard, we both ended up out of breath. But that moment, both of us moving, laughing, connecting, that was when I realized something. This wasn't just about memory. It was about life. Because memory is more than just facts or names. It's who we are. It's every story we carry. Every lesson we've learned. Every quote we've whispered to ourselves in hard times. It's the heart of elderly wisdom. And when that starts to fade, so does the connection to all the things that make our reflections valuable, not just to ourselves, but to those we love. So if you're watching this and thinking, that sounds too simple to work, I hear you. I was skeptical too. But ask yourself this. What if it does work? What if 3 minutes could help you feel like you again? I know it won't solve everything. I'm still 72. I still forget where I left the remote. But the fog is lifting. The fear is quieter. And I feel like I'm meeting myself again, each morning, 3 minutes at a time. This is why I had to share it. Because someone out there, maybe it's you, is feeling the same fear I did. And you deserve to know there's something small you can do. Something that works. Something that brings back the light. So before we continue, let me ask you, where are you watching from today? Are you from the US, Canada, Germany, the UK, or somewhere else in this beautiful world? Leave a comment and tell me. I'd love to know. And if this story has touched you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel, Elderly Reflections. Your support helps us continue to bring real stories, real science, and real solutions to seniors everywhere. Something shifted the day I shared the trick with my old friend, Martha. We were sitting on a park bench, watching the squirrels dash around like they had appointments to keep. Martha and I go way back, 40 years of friendship, laughter, and life lessons. But lately, she'd seemed distant, quieter. Her usual sparkle was flickering. I think my brain's betraying me, she said, half joking, half not. Yesterday I put the kettle in the fridge and the milk on the stove. I smiled gently. You know, I thought the same thing about myself not too long ago. And that's when I told her about the 3-minute morning routine. She laughed at first, said she'd probably fall over trying to do the knee lifts. But then I showed her how simple it really was. We stood right there in the park, lifting our knees slowly while saying the alphabet out loud. Then we crossed our arms, tapping our shoulders, switching sides. A few kids passing by giggled, and we giggled with them. When we finished, Martha stood still for a second. Her eyes lit up. I feel awake, she said. Like something just switched on. That's the thing, when you start doing this, you don't just feel sharper. You feel more alive. Because the brain doesn't just respond to activity, it thrives on it. And when you combine movement, rhythm, coordination, and positive emotion, you're giving your brain exactly what it needs. Think about it. Most seniors, especially in the West, fall into routines that don't challenge the brain. Same breakfast, same chair, same TV show, same silence. But the brain is like a garden. If you stop watering it with new experiences, new movements, new thoughts, it wilts. It shrinks. In fact, neuroscientists at Harvard conducted a long-term study following people aged 65 to 85. Those who engaged in daily mental physical routines, like dance, cross-lateral walking, or even clapping sequences with memory tasks, showed 30% less brain shrinkage over a 5-year period. That's not a small number. That's the difference between living with clarity or confusion. And the best part? It doesn't matter when you start. The brain never stops changing. This is what the scientists call neuroplasticity. It's not just a buzzword, it's your second chance. Let me tell you about George. He's 76, retired postal worker, widowed 5 years ago. When I first met him at a community center in Ohio, he barely spoke. He shuffled and quietly, always sat near the door. You could see the weight he carried, not just in his posture, but in his eyes. I introduced him to the 3-minute trick during a wellness workshop. At first, he thought it was silly. "You really think this tap dancing alphabet business is gonna fix my head?" he said with a raised brow. I said, "No. But it might help you find your spark again." He tried it once. Then again the next day. And then the next. By the 3rd week, George was leading the routine every morning with a grin on his face. His memory improved. But more importantly, his mood improved. He started writing again, poetry, of all things. Told us he hadn't written since his wife passed. That's what people don't always understand. Memory loss isn't just about forgetting names or appointments. It chips away at your confidence, your identity. But small wins, like remembering what you had for breakfast, or telling a story without stumbling, those moments restore your dignity. And here's something else. This trick doesn't just help memory, it helps motivation. Because the moment you prove to yourself that you can improve, something awakens inside. You stop feeling like a passive observer of life, and you start participating again. There's a term I heard once in a senior empowerment seminar, active aging. It means choosing to stay engaged, even when the world tells you to slow down. And guess what helps you do that? Routines like this. They tell your brain, we're not done yet. Now, some people ask, why not just take a supplement? And while yes, vitamins matter, especially B12, omega-3s, and magnesium, they're not magic. You can't outsource brain health. You have to engage with it. That's what elderly wisdom teaches us. Don't wait for someone else to fix your life. Take small steps, every day, to protect what matters. And that's why I now teach this to every senior I meet. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to join a gym. You don't need perfect knees or a good memory to start. You just need 3 minutes. Your breath, your body, and your willingness to try. And remember, the gratitude part matters too. When I began ending the routine by saying 3 things I was grateful for, something inside shifted. It was like my brain said, this is the world I want to stay awake in. Because gratitude changes chemistry. It boosts dopamine and serotonin. It lifts you. And when you start your day with movement and thankfulness, you're telling your brain and body, life still matters. I still matter. So if you're watching this and thinking, maybe I should try it, let me say this. Yes. Yes, you should. You deserve to feel proud of your mind. To feel clear and confident, whether you're 60 or 90. To tell your story, remember your legacy, and pass on your life lessons from the elderly with strength. Because every forgotten name, every misplaced key, every lost memory, it's not the end. It's a message. A signal. Not of decline, but of opportunity. An invitation to do something different. To take back your clarity. One small habit at a time. If this resonates with you, please like this video. It helps our message reach more seniors who feel alone in their memory struggles. And subscribe to the channel Elderly Reflections for more stories, science, and solutions rooted in real senior experiences. And again, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? Whether it's a village in Ireland or a city in Florida, I'd love to hear from you. It's been 8 months since I started that 3-minute morning routine. And let me tell you, this isn't just a habit anymore. It's a ritual. A quiet promise I make to myself each day. I am still here. I am still capable. I am still becoming. When I look back, I hardly recognize the man I used to be, worried, foggy, doubting every mental slip. Today, I wake up with clarity. I remember what day it is, where I put my keys, and what story I want to finish writing next. But most importantly, I feel present. Not just alive, but engaged, with my wife, my grandchildren, my neighbors, and myself. Let me share something personal. A few weeks ago, I gave a toast at my granddaughter's wedding. It wasn't written down. I spoke from the heart. 5 minutes, no notes, no stumbling. Just words. my words. And when I finished, there were tears in her eyes. Not because it was perfect, but because it was me. Fully there. Clear. Present. You can't put a price on that. And it's moments like those that make everything worth it. That's why I wish every senior knew that memory isn't something you lose like a dropped coin. It slips away only if you stop reaching for it. And even then, even if it's been fading for a while, there's still so much you can do to hold on. To rebuild. Because memory isn't just a brain function. It's a lifestyle. So let me give you a few more things I've learned, lessons that have deepened the effects of that 3-minute trick and turned my days into something richer, steadier, and more meaningful. First, hydration. I used to drink coffee all morning, water barely at all. But your brain is nearly 75% water. And studies from the University of Illinois show that even mild dehydration, just 2%, can impair memory, mood, and attention, especially in seniors. Now, I drink a full glass of water right after my morning routine. It feels like waking up my mind from the inside out. Second, light. Natural sunlight in the morning sets your circadian rhythm. It helps regulate hormones like cortisol and melatonin, which don't just affect sleep, they affect focus. After my 3-minute neuro routine, I step outside for 10 minutes. Even cloudy skies help. I breathe, I stretch, I let the day in. Third, music. Do you remember the songs you danced to when you were younger? The way they lit something up inside you? Well, they still can. Research shows that music, especially familiar, rhythmic music, activates more regions of the brain than almost anything else. I started playing my old jazz records during breakfast. Sometimes I hum along. Sometimes I close my eyes and just remember. It's like time travel. Fourth, storytelling. This might be the most powerful thing of all. Telling your stories keeps your mind sharp. Not just in writing, but in speaking. I've made it a point to call someone each week, an old friend, a family member, and tell them something I remember. A memory. A moment. A lesson. It keeps my brain working and my heart connected. And those conversations, they matter. They remind me who I am. These aren't fancy solutions. They're just human. Gentle, consistent acts of reconnection. And when you combine them with a 3-minute movement and gratitude routine, something magical happens. You don't just slow memory loss, you begin to recover yourself. Because for many seniors, the real fear isn't forgetting others, it's being forgotten. But when you take control of your days, when you sharpen your mind and share your wisdom, you become unforgettable. To your children, your community, yourself. This is the power of elderly wisdom. It's not about knowing everything, it's about never giving up on yourself. And I want to speak now to anyone who's feeling like it's too late. Like you've declined too far. Like the fog has thickened past the point of return. I see you. And I want to tell you, it's not over. One of the most inspiring people I've met on this journey was a woman named Elise. She was 83, living alone in Michigan. When I met her through our YouTube community, she wrote, "Henry, I tried your 3-minute routine. I only made it through half. But I felt alive. So I did it again the next day. And the next." By the end of the month, Elise had written a full letter to her great-grandchildren, something she hadn't done in years. "My thoughts are clearer," she wrote. "My hands don't shake as much. And I feel like I have something to give again." That's the legacy I believe in. Not just living longer, but living brighter. Passing on quotes, reflections, and stories that outlast our bodies. That's the gift we have as seniors. And the world needs that gift more than ever. So as we wrap this up, let me ask you something from my heart. If you could feel more present, more like yourself, with just 3 minutes a day, wouldn't you try? Don't wait for a diagnosis to scare you into action. Start now. Stand up, lift your knees, speak your alphabet. Tap your shoulders, smile, and say 3 things you're grateful for. Do it with your spouse, your friend, or alone in your kitchen. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're choosing yourself. Because the fight for your memory is really the fight for your life. So I leave you with this. Every morning is a new chance to remember who you are. To choose action over fear. To build habits that protect your most precious gift, your mind. If this video has helped you in any way, please give it a like. Subscribe to our channel, Elderly Reflections, for more inspiration, motivation, and practical tips rooted in real senior life. Your support helps us reach others who need this message. And before you go, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? I read every one. Whether you're in a quiet corner of Scotland or the hills of California, your voice matters. You matter. Here's to sharper minds, brighter mornings, and the beautiful journey of aging with power, grace, and purpose. Until next time.